In 1993, the first UFC was held in McNichols Arena in Denver, Colorado, and it was really basically to settle the question, who would win in all these various fighting styles, which fighting style was the best, and you had fighters who came in and they represented one individual unique style. Royce Gracie represented the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and people looked at him and they thought, how can this guy possibly compete with some of these athletes we have in this? He was a 175-pounder, he was skinny, but he understood jiu-jitsu, he knew things that they had never seen before, and he won the first UFC.
There were no weight classes, so you see guys with ponytails just getting banged on, and you see guys getting punched in the throat and kicked in the groin, and you see really no rules. It's basically a barroom brawl, the equivalent of basically the movie Fight Club.
I mean, we were the biggest thing there was on pay-per-view. We were doing 300,000 buys when there were 20 million homes. There's now 65, 67 million homes. There's now 3 times as many homes. And they rarely get up to those kind of numbers. We were doing it then. We would, I think we were on a great growth path. We had great fighters. It was an incredible time. It really was. Where people really wanted to see it, really believed in it, and very, very exciting time. And certainly if it hadn't become a silly political issue, there's no question it would have been a huge, huge sport. It was already.
There was a time when we refer to it as the Dark Ages, when the politicians started to take notice of this, and they got kicked off of pay-per-view.
Few knew about the sport because it was banned in nearly every state, called too violent by some, including one of the most powerful lawmakers in Washington, Senator John McCain.
I think it's an incredibly brutal spectacle that is on the level of a cockfight, only we're using human beings.
But the hardcore fans, and there are a lot of them, they kept the sport alive on the internet during the dark period, and 96 and 97, when there was no cable television, no Spike TV, no nothing. The internet really was the reason that mixed martial arts survived.
UFC was, an inch from dying.
Because we had been banned from cable for absolutely no reason, and please feel free to check. There was never anything that happened, but we had this political problem, and we were losing quite a bit of money, and I was just financing it all out of my pocket.
It's one of those sports that was underground for so many years and was only watched and written about and talked about by a small cadre of people who collected on the internet.
Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta are casino owners in Las Vegas. Their family has a tradition in Las Vegas of being in the gaming industry. I think they own the Station properties, which are local Las Vegas casinos. They cater to the Las Vegas audience. They have a lot of money. You're talking about casino owners, that's sort of synonymous.
But the Fertittas got really excited about the sport of MMA. They decided they wanted to take a look at buying the UFC.
It was a great buy. The UFC really was nothing at that point except a name that people sort of remembered from a decade before. And they came along because, their buddy Dana White said, look, this is a great opportunity, let's purchase it.
Zuffa LLC had bought the UFC in early 2001, around UFC 30. And they spent the next 3 to 4 years pumping money into it, trying ad campaigns in big magazines, trying to get celebrities to come in. They were doing everything they could, and they were trying to get live fights onto any sports channel or specialty channel that they could, and they couldn't get it on.
Zuffa was the company that was created by the Fertittas and Dana White upon purchasing the UFC. It's basically the promotional company that handles all their mixed martial arts business.
At that time, Lorenzo was part of the boxing commission in the state of Nevada. A very respected commissioner, knew the sport, knew boxing.